Chapter 7. The waves crashed against the shore with explosive motion. I thought of the fire filling the room as it collapsed on Zebulon. They settled down into a bubbly foam. I remembered the powdery organs of the runt Mynah dangling from the tip of my arrow. Then they gently began to recede into the ocean from whence they came. It reminded me of the gentle feeling of George's soft lips on my own. Finally, they completed the cycle, crashing against the shore once more. I thought of how tragedy had repeated itself in my life so brutally, in such a brief period of time. The water eroded the jagged stones into smooth surfaces. The needs of the Federation had worn me down into a husk of my former self. Droplets splattered against my armor, just as the blood of enemies and friends had on numerous occasions. My cape was nearly entirely red. George, Nick, Zebulon, and countless soldiers and civilians dragged on my shoulders like vengeful haints, refusing to rust as long as I lived. They had made me a captain. It seemed like such a leap in rank, but I did not have the energy to object. I had heard that Autumn was finally granted entry into Federation intelligence as an agent, and that Chuck was promoted to lieutenant. But I struggled to care. In my new rank, I was called up for a couple of missions and meetings, but never showed. I preferred to just drift. I lifted my mask to drink. The cold night wind complemented the lukewarm tea nicely. It was laced with a strong dosage of Fahrenheit, supposedly for a suspected muscle injury. Yet even without the tea, my body felt fine. In reality, it was for my mind. The high was the only thing capable of keeping me in a moment, and all it cost was a lie to a physician once a week. Once the cup was empty, I tossed it over the cliff and into the rocky shore. Disappointingly, it refused to shatter, nesting itself on the only patch of sand large enough. This was North Shrew, a cozy Federation town on the northern coast of central Hanyem. I had traveled there for Nicholas's funeral, but I could not bring myself to travel down the road for the actual service. It was packed full of random officers and businessmen from all over, and I knew I would not be able to handle their insincere words. I did not need to be present, as my ears were keen enough to pick up anything important from a nearby cliff. It branched off over the ocean, like a miniature archipelago, perfect for my solitude. The trembling reflection of the moon and stars on the vast and dark ocean before me was truly beautiful, so I tried to focus on the visual, rather than my thoughts. The tea turned this impossible task into a difficult but manageable one. Familiar voices echoed across the water. I could recognize the murmur of Autumn, Chuck, Inkar, and my father, discussing politics and sacrifice. I did not dare to look over. The whole event disgusted me. At the very least, I was glad Nick's martyrdom had earned him such a beautiful coastal resting place. Even so late at night, the grass and trees maintained a deep green glow in a place like this. Almost everything was full of life. Then, a single thought managed to breach the dam of induced relaxation I had constructed in my mind. For the first time since the siege, I considered the possibility that Zebulon was wise after all. It seemed like such a strange and terrible coincidence that the only two warm flames in my life would be extinguished so brutally. And it clearly had paid off. Only through their sacrifice was I capable of wrath, though I had little to no control over it. Regardless, I had still developed this ability through my suffering, and I had become much more formidable as a result. Even when pushing myself during a workout, I felt the warmth of the plasma in my veins, as if I had woken something up within me that will never truly sleep. The minister knew of George, and more than that, he knew that the use of that name would provoke me. His conclusion was brutally logical, which is why I feared it so much. Maybe I was better off abandoning my post, whether it meant disappearing into the woods or taking my own life. Thankfully, my thoughts were interrupted by something new.
"Good evening, good people of Hanyam,"
boomed a voice I had never heard before.
"If you do not mind, I wish to give a short speech in honor of this poor child."
I could not help myself any more. The voice, despite being new to my ears, was undoubtedly familiar. It was as though the sound of my heart had taken form, as if all of the love in Hanyam had manifested into a man. When I turned to view the service, my suspicions were proven correct. Standing above all the others was a man in a dark suit, with golden glasses and a matching gold tie. He had a smooth tuft of dark hair atop his head, thick eyebrows, and a genial beard covering his face. His skin was light, but not pale, while his teeth were whiter than the snow of Gishar. On his back draped a long cape of unique artistry. White stars dotted a blue rectangle on one side of its tail, while the rest was adorned with alternating columns of red and white. I had never met him, but I had seen his face nearly 1,000,000 times in various statues and paintings. King Mynah Smith IX, I whispered to myself in awe, clearing my mind to concentrate fully on the words he was about to speak.
"Can anyone here name 112 people?"
asked Mynah.
"Does anyone here have 112 friends?"
The crowd was silent.
Of course, 112 is an incomprehensible number, yet that is what they have taken from us. Minister Zebulon Alalo, in a manipulative campaign to seize freedom he already possessed, claimed the lives of 112 of my beautiful children.
Heads lowered and sad murmurs could be heard all around.
We gather here to mourn the terrible loss of a promising young man, Private Nicholas Aurum, son of Charles, brother to Zed Aurum and Charles Jr. This loss pains me greatly, especially due to how preventable it was. The Indigalo Federation was formed to create unity across Hanyam. Yet, the cruel people of Felibron see it as an oppressive force. While many of them are misguided, it has become clear to me that their leaders seek only to disrupt our peace for personal gain. They profit from war, equipping their troops with stolen weapons to plunder and hunt humanity until we have no choice but to resist. With our superior human minds, this would normally be of no issue to us, but sadly, times have changed. I stand before you all to confirm that the rumors are true. Zebulon Alalo possessed Gilded Indigalo weapons.
Gasps and chatter echoed across the crowd.
I know, it truly is terrible. But luckily, our bravest soldiers, the Indigalo Knights, discovered records of how such a wicked man was able to obtain such destructive weaponry.
This was news to me.
Minister Zebulon Alalo was supplied by head sorcerer Leo Gilder of the Western Gilded Sorcerers.
He announced in terror at the very concept.
Yes, my friends, it is true. We have been betrayed by the guardians of the first Mynah world themselves.
The funeral goers went silent with shock.
It is due to this development that I am here to address you all tonight. In memory of Nicholas Aurum, I, King Mynah Smith IX of the Indigalo Federation, declare war on the Gilded Sorcerers.
The crowd erupted with applause and cheering, and even I could not help but clap along with them. Over the excitement, the king continued to shout.
If we wish to return Hanyam to a period of peace, we must eliminate these traitors and rebalance the scales. Those men supplied savages with weapons of mass destruction, so I imbue you all with the duty of bringing them to justice. The Indigalo Federation did not start this war, but we will surely end it. I do not intend to rest until the blood of these culprits has been spilled and promptly drained. Neither should you. You cannot have war without factions, and you cannot have factions when you have unity. This imposition will euthanize the very concept of violence, and our prosperity shall be expanded to encompass all of Hanyam. If domination is the only road to peace, that is the road our federation will be taking.
It was nearly impossible to hear that last sentence over the fervor of the crowd, so I had to review speech transcripts later on to confirm my record. In fact, I revisited this address many times in hopes of recreating the religious experience I had on that cliff. But nothing could ever live up to the first. Once it had quieted down, I turned back to the ocean to relish in the ecstasy of it all. The North Shrew address had given me direction once more, and I had finally been allowed an opportunity to fight for Hanyam rather than my father. Mynah Smith, upon arriving in Hanyam, forbade the use of all military technology beyond the basics. He had wished for fair and virtuous conflict in which only the skilled may prevail. The Gilded Sorcerers were always a strange sort of exception to this, as they were meant to be a last line of defense for the people of Hanyam in the face of corruption. But Zebulon's use of Gilded Indigalo and the sorcerer's role in supplying it blatantly defied this pursuit of fairness entirely. More importantly, it was the deciding factor against Nicholas's survival. I would have no quandary with assisting in the demise of these conspirators. By the time I was done unpacking my newfound hatred for the sorcerers, the crowd was gone, and the cliff was once more silent beyond the soft sound of the waves. For the first time since Nick's death, I felt nearly calm.
Enjoying the sea, Zed?
His divine voice startled me as I awkwardly swiveled around into a rough genuflection. Yes, my lord. My apologies for my informality.
No need to be beneath me tonight, hero. Please stand.
I stumbled to my feet, confused and anxious to please.
I was disappointed to miss you at the service,
He explained softly.
but I am glad to see you were still present in some capacity.
I am so sorry, my lord, I said with the slightest panic. I meant no disrespect.
Of course not. I understand your grief must be immeasurable, as is mine.
He said, placing his hand on my shoulder and staring right through my mask.
I forgive you for all that which you are, out of gratitude for your great service.
His smile was penetrating and warm, but his words still frightened me. It felt as though he knew everything about me, subtly calling me out for my violence and sexuality, and then instantly forgiving me. What exactly was he referring to? I could not know. But with how much Zebulon and my father seemed to know, it was safe to assume his near omniscience. Thank you, my lord, I said, lowering my head. That means so much coming from you. He nodded and smiled, sliding his hand from my shoulder to my back and pulling himself closer to me. Then, shockingly, he hugged me. I could not comprehend it as it occurred. I remained entirely frozen as he gently patted my backplate with deep reassurance.
Any means can be forgiven for the proper ends. Yes?
He asked into my ear. Yes, my lord, I repeated, as defiant tears began to push through my lower eyelashes. It was a feeling I could not properly define. I had never expected to embrace God. The king began to step back, releasing his hold upon me.
Then there's no question about it. Of course you are forgiven.
I took a deep breath and nodded thankfully, staying silent to hide my tearful state. While there was no standard for it, I could presume that crying in front of the king would be looked down upon for an officer of my rank. Regardless, it felt like he knew anyway.
I have a gift for you, Zed.
He said, reaching for a bag behind him that I had previously not noticed. It was long and woven of soft brown silk, and the gentle way in which he moved it into my arms implied great value.
If we refuse to fight on the terms of our enemies, we will certainly lose every step of the way. Please, open it.
I nodded again, and began to unravel the soft silk. The fine fibers seemed to polish my rough armor as they brushed past. Inside, 2 beautiful gilded longswords and an ancient scroll revealed themselves. I was once again in awe.
Dual longswords are certainly unconventional, but the results you bring with them are undeniable.
Complimented Mynah.
And the scroll should be enough to teach you how to use them properly.
I tilted my head slightly to convey confusion. With another warm smile, Mynah explained.
My mistake. I forgot it is not public knowledge. You, Zed Aurum, and the rest of your family are what we call a gilded bloodline. In essence, you are the Federation's very own sorcerers.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you, my lord, I stuttered, only now realizing the degree of power I truly had all along.
I saw the bodies, Zed. Your misfortune has fed your wrath to make you the most powerful combatant in Hanyum. Your father's treachery has paid off, but I remain sorry for the suffering it took to get you to this point.
Hearing the only man capable of talking down my father say something like that felt incomparably refreshing. He truly did understand me. If he is a god, his benevolence has not gone unrecognized. If he is a man, the same applies. Thank you, sir. The acknowledgement is deeply appreciated once more.
That is why I am asking you to lead the operation in the Western Mountains. My only ask is that you eliminate or arrest Leo Gilder and all of his conspirators. The tactics, troops, and all the other details may be to your discretion. Just keep all expenses comfortably below 1 million IFC.
After all I had been through, I was finally faced with the offer of a lifetime. I had been granted true purpose. I dropped back down to one knee and lowered my head, driving the new blades into the ground before me. Yes, my lord, I will be your assassin of corruption. You have my word and my life. I shall dedicate my future to you, and to curing Hanyem's patrons of my previous pain. Nobody will have to experience this level of suffering again, and no price could be too high for what I intend to accomplish. Mynah smiled, nodded, and disappeared back into the night.